Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking some truly brutal psychological truths about the modern workplace and, honestly, just human behavior in general. We're going to look closely at why our systems permanently reward efficiency over visible sacrifice. If you've ever wondered why the hardest workers aren't always the ones getting ahead, well, you're in exactly the right place. We're going to break down the complex psychology behind work, energy, and perception. Let's get right into it.
Think about this for a second. Consider the paradox of this guy in Chicago. Word around his office is that he hasn't worked a hard day in years, or at least that's what everyone thinks. He leaves right at 5 p.m., he never looks stressed, he rarely volunteers for extra tasks, and you will literally never see him rushing down the hallway. Yet, somehow, he keeps getting promoted. And not just promoted, but promoted right over the top of colleagues who are destroying their physical and mental health, trying to impress everyone. So, how does this actually happen? Okay. Let's dive into this. On one hand, you've got the 12-hour grinder. You know the type. Busy proving their effort and completely burning themselves out. On the other hand, you have the 5 p.m. leaver, who is quietly studying leverage and energy preservation. The hard truth here is that human psychology doesn't actually reward effort alone. It just doesn't. It rewards perception, it rewards energy preservation, and it rewards emotional control. Sometimes the person who's seemingly doing less is actually seeing so much more of the bigger picture.
Section 1. Performative Exhaustion. The trap.
So, performative exhaustion happens when people subconsciously create harder lives for themselves than they actually need to. Why? Well, because visible struggle earns sympathy, validation, and it gives people a sense of identity. Somewhere along the way, a person working 12 hours a day started to feel morally superior to someone working 4 highly focused hours. And the crazy thing is, that feeling persists even when the person working 4 hours gets vastly better results. Humans are just deeply emotional about visible struggle, and we constantly confuse that struggle with genuine value.
So why do we fall into this trap? Well, many hard workers are actually addicted to external approval without even realizing it. You hear it all the time when someone loudly brags, "Oh man, I only slept 4 hours last night." They're literally treating self-destruction like a personality trait. But, psychologically speaking, many of these individuals aren't actually chasing achievement. They are chasing safety. They work relentlessly because they're looking for permission to just feel worthy.
Section 2. Efficiency versus sacrifice. What is actually rewarded?
Now, what's really interesting about this is the stark contrast between what gets praised and what actually gets rewarded. The strategic thinker watches their exhausted colleagues and notices a really dangerous pattern. You see, most systems will temporarily praise visible sacrifice, like, sure, they'll give you a pat on the back for working the weekend, but they permanently reward actual efficiency.
Instead of asking, "Did I suffer enough today?" the strategic thinker asks some pretty dangerous questions. Things like, can this be simplified? Can it be ignored entirely? Does this even matter? They absolutely obsess over shortcuts. And it's absolutely crucial to understand that they don't do this because they hate effort. They do it because they absolutely hate unnecessary suffering. And frankly, there's nothing that irritates an exhausted person more than someone who simply refuses to participate in that performative suffering.
Section 3. The cost of overworking. The downward spiral.
Let's walk through this downward spiral, because it's pretty brutal. When you exhaust yourself trying to look valuable in step 1, you very quickly hit step 2, losing cognitive power. And this leads right into step 3, where burned out people start making emotionally expensive decisions. They overspend, they overreact. In step 4, exhaustion actually lowers your psychological resistance, which means people end up staying in toxic relationships longer and accepting disrespect way faster. Which brings us to the terrifying step 5. Manipulative environments absolutely love overworked people. Tired employees accept more. Tired partners tolerate imbalance longer. The hardest worker in the room slowly becomes the absolute easiest person to control.
The moment your effort becomes entirely predictable, your value quietly turns into mere accessibility. Pure accessibility permanently changes power dynamics against the worker. When people know you're always going to say yes, they stop valuing your expertise and they start simply using your time.
Section 4. Energy boundaries. Stopping the leak. And this brilliantly illustrates the difference in everyday application. The hard worker operates under this belief that they should help everyone, and as a result, their energy is just constantly leaking out. The hardworking friend becomes the unpaid therapist, and the hardworking employee turns into the permanent fixer. The strategic thinker, however, aggressively protects their boundaries. They ask, who actually deserves access to me?
Because they know that every single yes creates future expectations, they manage to remain detached, emotionally sharp, and completely in control of their own life. Society often doesn't admire hardworking people. It consumes them. Strategic, quote-unquote, lazy thinkers learn the hard way that availability attracts dependency. People often just admire the benefits and the convenience that you provide, not the actual human being underneath all that effort.
Section 5. Unsettling the status quo. Why lazy scares us.
You know, our entire society really depends on our unquestioned participation in a very specific loop. Wake up, commute, perform, consume, repeat. People who interrupt that rhythm completely unsettle everyone else around them. When a strategic thinker refuses to burn out, they force deeply uncomfortable questions into the room. Questions like, why are we living like this? Why do exhausted people get praised more than peaceful people? So the crucial point here is that humans hate mirrors that reveal their own unconscious sacrifice. When you refuse to burn out, it exposes the compliance of everybody else around you. Many exhausted, hardworking people secretly resent peaceful people because that peace exposes just how much unnecessary suffering they have normalized in their own lives.
Section 6. Working for meaningful results. Now, we definitely aren't glorifying actual life-destroying laziness here. Some lazy people do destroy their lives, just like some hard workers build extraordinary ones. The deeper psychological difference really hides underneath the behavior itself. One person works hard because they're building something truly meaningful. Another works hard because they are absolutely terrified of becoming invisible. Sometimes the hardest working people are simply running from themselves. And sometimes the quietest people in the room are just the only ones who have finally stopped running.
Which leaves us with a final, vital question. Are you working hard to get results, or are you just working hard to prove that you deserve to be here? Take a moment to really think about that. If this explainer exposed a truth you've been feeling but just couldn't quite put a name to, drop a comment below and share your thoughts. And if you want to keep exploring the brutal psychological truths behind human behavior with us, make sure to hit subscribe. We don't just talk about empty motivation here, we uncover the truth. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.